Hey y'all, I'm back with our second story, the superheroes from the Bible. So today we're going to read the story of Samson. And it says, God had big plans for this mighty strong man, no matter what mistakes he made along the way. So for many years, the people of Israel lived peacefully in Palestine. But then the Philistines gained control. They were not very kind to the Israelites, and God saw the suffering. He sent an angel down to earth with a message of hope for his people. The angel appeared to an Israelite woman who had not been able to have children, and told her that she would soon have a son. The son would be blessed by God in a special way as he grew up. Through him, God would begin to rescue the Israelites from the harsh rule of the Philistines. But in return, this son must dedicate his life to God. As a sign of that promise, he must never cut his hair, never drink wine, or even eat grapes, and never go near anything dead. So that would be pretty hard not to cut your hair ever. Or some of us not to eat grapes, because a lot of us like grapes. So he must follow this strange but special path God set for him. The boy was born just as the angel said. He was named Samson. As he grew up, he obeyed God's special rules for him, such as never cutting his hair. He was blessed and grew very strong with God. While Samson's body was strong, his self-control was not. Samson was quick to fall in love, and he was also quick to anger. That combination got him into quite a few bad situations, but the Lord had a plan for him, and Samson had faith that God would guide him to carry out his purpose. When Samson was old enough to marry, he met a beautiful Philistine woman from the nearby village of Timnah. He decided that she would be the one woman in all the world who would make him happy. His parents did not approve of his marriage, an enemy, but Samson would not listen to their pleas. He was determined to marry her. What happened? Eventually, Samson's parents agreed to meet the girl and her family. They left their home and started to walk to Timnah. Samson was excited. He ran ahead. All alone in the middle of the vineyard, he was surprised by a great roaring lion. As the lion sprang up forward toward him, Samson felt the Spirit of the Lord fill him. Samson gathered all the strength he had been given, grabbed the charging lion, and tore it apart with his bare hands. Samson was amazed at his own strength, but he was ashamed that he had killed one of God's creatures. Instead of going home to clean himself and ask God's forgiveness, he rejoined his parents on the walk and did not tell them what had happened in the vineyard. Sometime later, as Samson walked once again to Timnah, he went by the vineyard where he had killed the lion. And here's a picture of him, the lion. When he saw the lion's body, he discovered a very strange thing. A swarm of bees had made a nest in the lion's body, and it was filled with honey. Although Samson knew it was wrong to touch the dead animal, he couldn't resist the sweet, delicious honey. He scooped it up and licked his fingers clean, not even noticing the angry bees swarming around him, warning him away. He was the mighty Samson after all. A few little bees couldn't hurt such a blessed, strong man of God. He kept the lion a secret and even gave some of the forbidden honey to his parents. Finally, Samson's parents agreed to let him marry the Philistine girl. To celebrate the news, Samson threw a party for the bride and her friends and family. The bride's father sent over 30 young men from Timnah to keep Samson company and help prepare for his wedding. Samson decided to tease the Philistine men and give them a challenge that they could never win. "Let me ask you a riddle," he said. If the 30 men could solve the riddle within 7 days, he would give them each a new set of clothes. If they could not, they each had to give him the same. So here is the riddle. Out of the one who eats came something to eat. Out of the strong one came something sweet. So let me say that again. Out of the one who eats came something to eat. Out of the strong one came something sweet. So of course you know what the answer was: the lion. But no one else knew that. Samson had killed a man-eating lion that then became home to a beehive filled with honey. The men could not guess the answer, but they did not want to give Samson a reward. They went to Samson's bride and threatened to kill her and her family if she didn't find out the answer and tell them. Samson's bride didn't know the answer. She didn't want to trick Samson, but she had to protect her family. So she went to Samson and begged him to confide in her. "You hate me," she cried. "You don't really love me. You have given my people a riddle, but you haven't told me the answer." At first, Samson kept his silence for 4 days. But the woman cried and asked him again and again to tell her the answer. On the final day, he gave in with the answer. Of course, his bride went straight to the men and explained the riddle to save herself and her family. When the men answered correctly, Samson grew angry. He knew they could not have guessed the truth. He knew that the woman had betrayed his trust. Samson did not want to pay a debt that the men earned by cheating. but he knew he owed them their reward. Then the Spirit of the Lord once again filled Samson with power. He went to a neighboring Philippine village where he defeated 30 men with his bare hands and stole their clothes to give to the men as payment. Still angry with the young woman he was engaged to, he went home to calm down. After he cooled down, he returned to her home to talk about their marriage. But when he arrived, he got another surprise. While he was away, she had married one of the other men who had tricked him. Well, as you can imagine, Samson got very, very angry. He went to her father and asked why he had betrayed her again. Betrayed him again. Her father answered, "I thought you hated her." He offered Samson his younger daughter as a bride instead. But that just made Samson even angrier. He was so angry, in fact, that he again ran off in a rage. With his anger fueling his strength, he wanted to get revenge on the 30 men who not only had tricked him into losing the bet, but had also stole his bride. Samson went into the woods, captured 300 foxes, tied torches to their tails, and set them loose in the crop fields of Timnah. The foxes spread fire wherever they ran, destroying the Philistines' food supply. The Philistines knew that Samson was to blame for the destruction. They told the Israelites they must bring Samson to them to be judged. The Israelite men pleaded with Samson to turn himself in so that people could be saved. Samson agreed. He let the people bind him with ropes, and lead him to the Philistines to be judged. Here's some. So it says, Samson was stronger than 1,000 men. He had sacrificed himself to serve God. So as the people turned Samson over to his enemies, again the Spirit of the Lord gave him great power. Samson flexed his strong muscles and snapped the sturdy ropes as if it were thread. Free from his bonds, he grabbed a donkey's bone from the ground and swung it over his head. He swung the bone again and again, defeating 1,000 Philistines at once in the name of God and the Israelites. The Philistines were defeated just as the angel had promised. For the next 20 years, Samson ruled Israel in peace. In those years, you would think that Samson learned to hold his quick anger and use his strength more wisely. Well, Samson was a kind and strong leader, but after all those years, he never truly learned to trust God in hard situations. Instead, he let his emotions get out of control. So even superheroes as strong as Samson have weaknesses. The the truly amazing part of the story is that God found a way to use even Samson's weakness as a part of his plan to free the people of Israel. And that's the end. That's the end of the story of Samson. So you can pray to be super strong for God. Samson made some bad choices by putting himself in tough situations and letting his anger get the best of him. But God was still able to use him as a part of his plan. Samson was physically strong, but what makes him a real superhero of faith is that he recognized that all his power came from God. Thank God for always being by your side to make you stronger. Pray to use God's power for his purposes, not with greed or revenge. Listen to God's plan for you. So God has a plan for everyone, even with our weaknesses. Just like he did with Samson, he can turn our weaknesses into strengths. He has a plan and a purpose for everyone. Even if you don't see it today, he already has a plan for you. So just always remember that God, in anything that goes on in your life, there's always a reason for it, good or bad. There's a reason God is allowing that to happen. He has a plan for your life. You may not always understand it, but you will one day. So where in the Bible you can find, read more about Samson, you can read in Judges 13 through 16 and Hebrews 11 through 32. And I will put that down in the captions. But I hope you enjoyed the story today of Samson. And if you did not hear the story from last week, go back and review it. And don't forget to like and subscribe to Mountain View's YouTube page and our Facebook page. I hope y'all have a great week, and I'll see y'all again next week with another story. Thank you.